Welcome to the Invested Dads Podcast, simplifying financial topics so that you can take action and make your financial situation better. Helping you to understand the current world of financial planning and investments, here are your hosts, Josh Robb and Austin Wilson.
All right. Hey. Welcome back to the Invested Dads Podcast, a podcast where we take you on a journey to better your financial future. I am Austin Wilson, research analyst at Hixon Zuercher Capital Management.
And I'm Josh Robb, director of wealth management, also at Hixon Zuercher Capital Management. Austin, what can our listeners do to help us with our podcast?
Well, we, first of all, would love it if you would subscribe if you're not already, which if you're listening to this, on a Thursday, you probably are. But if you're not, on whatever platform you listen to us on, whether that be Apple Podcasts, maybe someone has an Android and they use Google Podcasts.
Google Podcasts.
I don't know. There's a million others. Spotify, Shopify. No, that's where you go shopping. Pandora.
Yeah, we're
everywhere. Stitcher.
I never heard of that one.
I think that's one.
Probably.
So anyway, wherever you're listening, go ahead and subscribe, and please visit our website. You can sign up for our weekly newsletter and get notified each and every Thursday when a new episode drops. You'll get a nice little synopsis of what we talk about.
That's right.
It's pretty handy, as well as a link to listen. So that's where we're at.
Yeah, and speaking of that newsletter, we have with us, joining us today, Ashley Miller. Ashley is our marketing intern, and she's the one that puts together that awesome Thursday newsletter, as well as edits all these podcasts.
Yep,
so everything we mess up today,
I get all the bloopers that don't make the final cut.
I bet she's like storing them off to the side.
Blackmail for
and then,
later on.
One day there's just going to be
one day.
Oh, you said you weren't going to help me with that. Well, look what I've got.
That's
you were talking about your dog in a mean way.
That's right.
You
you do that anyways, and you do that and publish it.
It'll just come out of the blue.
It sure will.
So, Ashley, thanks for joining us, first of all.
I'm happy to be here.
Yeah.
And we will start with just tell us a little bit about yourself. You are in school. And tell us a little bit about where you're going, what you're majoring in, and kind of what your favorite things to do.
I am in school. I am a junior at Bowling Green State University. I'm a marketing major in
Falcons.
Go Falcons. I'm an advertising minor. Pretty busy girl. I'm president of Women in Business Leadership Organization at BGSU, largest organization in the College of Business at BGSU.
Wow. There you go.
Congrats.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. Yeah. Additionally, I'm a figure skating coach for Finley's Silver Blades.
Oh, there you go.
I've been coaching for a few years. It's super rewarding. I love coaching. I know, Josh, you have some experience coaching. I don't know about you, Austin.
Yes.
They don't let me coach.
Not ice skating.
Not ice skating.
Josh would coach in falling.
Yes. I always said, though, like if you're going to get hurt, that's the place because you can get ice on it right away.
That's what my dad always
says.
Right. Yep.
That's what all dads say. It's in the manual.
Oh, wait, you're already icing it? Right. Good job. Good start.
Yeah. My dad's like, why'd you come home? Like, you already had ice there.
Just put some ice on it.
Put the peas back in the freezer.
Exactly.
All right.
Another recent endeavor I've taken on is running an e-commerce small business of my own called Ashley Nicole Clothing. So
there you go.
Yeah.
And what
she hasn't
that?
made me the blazer I asked for yet.
You need a blazer?
I don't specialize in blazers, but maybe I can work something out for you.
That's right. Good deal. Well, that sounds like you're really busy. We know you're busy here because we need a lot of help on our podcast.
We give you a lot of work to do.
That's for sure. But like we always do, we love having our interns join us on the show, and we just open the floor. We do not know ahead of time what questions Ashley's going to ask us. And so she has them ready to go, and she's going to ask anything she wants about finance.
Now, we gave her no restrictions.
Yes.
Yep. I gave them the topics. I didn't give them the questions.
Yes. And I just now looked at the topics, so I'm way ahead of things.
We're going to try and not tick the explicit box, Josh, so watch your language.
I will be very careful.
Okay.
Very careful. All right. So my first question came from another college student, someone I know.
Okay.
And it's about student loans.
Oh.
So very popular among college students. So say I take out a loan for college, I work over the summer and make money. The next year, when I need to take another loan, should I use the money I made over the summer to pay off the old loan, or should I take out a smaller loan this year?
Good question. Well, there's two different types of loans. There's student federal loans that are subsidized, and then there's unsubsidized. While you're in school, those loans do not accrue any interest.
The subsidized
loans.
Okay.
And so either one, it's the same result at the end, because you'd have the same dollar amount of loans. So if you paid off the other one and then got a higher loan or just got less of the second loan, you're probably going to end with the same dollar amounts. And since they don't accrue any interest while you're in school, you're going to end with the same dollar amounts once you start paying interest.
Okay.
So from that standpoint, if they are the subsidized loans, then it's really indifferent which one you do. You should do one or the other. but it doesn't matter because you're going to end with the same dollar amounts once they start accruing interest at the end.
All right.
Correct.
So there's no wrong answer there.
But if they are unsubsidized loans or private loans are usually what a lot of times what those are, those you're accruing interest from day one.
Yep. So you
and
want
those
to pay them off.
if you did have some extra cash available, it would probably be prudent to put some of, not all of it, but if you have the availability, you could knock some interest off for sure.
Or if the newer ones are a higher interest rate, you'll get less of that.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be assuming they're the same interest rates. But if you, because interest rates have gone up, if let's say your first student loans were 5% and then your next ones are 6%, you may want to get less of that 6% interest because you'll have less accruing interest.
Yeah,
for
you can pay more cash for the current semester or whatever you're going towards. Yep.
Okay, that
Good
makes
question.
sense.
Yeah. A lot of nuances in student loans, huh?
There is.
Good times.
Yeah. And with that, what is the fastest way to eliminate debt?
Winning the
Josh.
lottery.
Yes, we just had an episode about winning the lottery.
Yes.
We've talked about this numerous times. If you think about ways to eliminate debt, there's generally two thought processes.
Yeah, we should wait till the winter to talk about.
We should wait till the winter because right now you don't have like beach bod.
Well, because they're both named after snow.
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly. There's the avalanche method and the snowball method. So Josh, maybe just give a 2-sentence description of each of those.
Yeah, explain those for me.
So this is the approach to if you have multiple debts. So when you have student loans, you usually have more than one loan and they all have maybe different rates and terms and stuff. And so the snowball method, if you think of rolling a snowball down the hill, it gets bigger as it goes.
Yeah.
Right. And so that concept is you start with the smallest loan value.
In dollars.
Yes. And so not the interest rate, but smallest loan value. So if I have a $5,000 loan, $10,000 loan, and a $15,000 loan, I would first target the $5,000 loan.
Yes.
Because I'll be the quickest at paying that off, smallest dollar amount.
Yeah.
I'll pay as much as I can to that, pay the minimum on everything else.
Okay,
so any extra money goes to that one. Once that one's all the way gone, that payment is no longer due. I take all that money and move it to the next one. And I snowball, keep building on it.
Yeah.
The avalanche method, which is just the opposite, is instead of organizing by dollar amounts, you target the highest interest payment. So if those same 3, 5, 10, and $15,000 loans, if one is a 6%, one's an 8%, and one's a 10%, I would take the 10%.
Right.
Regardless of the value sizes, that's the one that's causing me the most interest. Between the two, you actually save money on the avalanche, but you're more likely to stick with it in the snowball method because you get victory sooner and you see the progress.
Right. Yeah.
So either one's fine. And in the end, you're talking minimal difference. Yeah. And so I always say the snowball method makes sense because you get to see progress. Oh, I got that one done. Now I move to the next one.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the first one. And then the second one is prioritizing, because we've talked about this too. When you're young, saving, you get the most value because you have the longest time for that to compound. Mm-hmm. So you got to kind of weigh the two. Everybody wants to get rid of those student loan debts, and we agree with that.
Yep.
But don't forego saving something. Like if you get a 401k, make sure you're at least getting the match early on because you'll love what that money is doing in 30, 40 years when you're getting ready to retire because it has compounded and grown along the way. So it's kind of splitting your priorities between the goal of removing all debt and also starting to save for
Yeah, so our general advice for students entering the workforce after college, which we've said before and we'll say it again, is you get a full-time job and you're offered a 401k match. Take that. Don't put any more in than you need to get the match. Then do your debt on top of that.
Mm-hmm. Ashley just heard him hit his
almost
water.
knocked over.
Like, that really sound. I'm gonna edit that sound.
Young people not taking advantage of that is one of my pet peeves. Mm-hmm. So, there you go.
Yes.
That wasn't even your question.
And then you just wait and maybe the government will pay off your student loan debts.
Please don't count on that. It's not going to happen.
No, but yeah, so just pick a method and stick with it. That's really the bigger key.
Yeah.
Whichever one makes sense to you. I'm a math numbers guy, so I could build a spreadsheet and I would say, oh, look how much interest I can save. And that alone is motivation for me to stick with like the avalanche method. Mm-hmm. But for most people that don't live and breathe in an Excel sheet and see those numbers saying, oh, you know what? In 5 months, I'll be here. In 2 years, I'll be here. And you can see that progress a lot faster.
Yeah.
That's usually the better way to
that
go.
makes a lot of sense. Yeah. All right. I'm going to move on to kind of the flip side of that.
Okay.
So you guys have talked about how to eliminate debt and people who are taking out student loans.
Yep.
What about those students who are in a good place financially?
Yep.
What's the first step that these individuals should take to stay on top of their finances and make the most of their money?
Yeah. So in a sense, college is getting taken care of. Maybe they have scholarships or some money coming in.
Right.
And so what should they be doing to kind of get a head start on the game. Okay.
That's so exciting.
That's a good situation.
It doesn't happen very often, but it's a great situation.
And so that debt is not there. And so they can kind of supercharge that savings. But the bigger thing is, and this is really true for that group of people, is that the habits need to be formed. Because if they're in that situation, chances are throughout probably most of their life, they didn't have to worry so much about money. And there's nothing wrong with that. But they have yet to build those habits of responsibility for their own finances.
Saving their money. They might think, I have that extra money, I need to spend it.
It always shows up there, right? It's somehow there's more money. And so that concept is just, now that I'm becoming my own adult and I'm going to slowly get maybe separated a little bit from that money source of parents who have provided and helped along the way, the habit is the key. So setting up a budget, setting a standard of, here's the first thing I'm going to do with my money is save it. I'm going to put some aside for a purpose. That habit is the key. They're going to have a head start in that they don't have to worry about that debt, so they're going to have more cash flow. And so they could probably add a little for the 401k or maybe start a Roth IRA, but setting the habit will be their key, because up to this point, they've had a backstop. And so it hasn't been as high a priority as somebody who's had to work part-time jobs and make sure they had the funds to get the gas for the car, all those things that maybe built those habits automatically. Someone in the other situation has to intentionally create those habits for themselves. But that's not a bad situation to be in.
No.
And it's not
awesome.
saying you can't and you won't be successful. That's, by far, someone who respects and understands the work that was put into giving them that opportunity will be likely to want to pass that on and do the same for their kids. So it's a great spot to be in. It's just a matter of understanding realistically where your cash flow is going to go and making sure you prioritize some of that savings.
And I think one thing is that once you do graduate, you won't have to have that huge chunk of your income going out towards repaying student loans or whatever, which differentiates you from most of your peers. So don't let that fall through to your spending. That's why you talked about saving, but save more intentionally. And you were already given a gift, to be set up really well for a long time. So use that and make it actually work for you by saving more intentionally when you, in lieu, of putting that towards debt. So it's awesome.
And I'll let you guys talk about that a little bit further after I take a little break and go into the dad joke.
Ooh, dad joke of the week.
The dad joke of the week. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Born ready.
Okay. So this is really, really weird, but the other day, I heard music coming from my printer.
Okay.
Uh-oh. Yeah.
I don't know what it was. But then I went in, and turns out it was just jamming.
It was just jamming.
I
love it.
Yeah, when I think of that joke, I just kind of picture a printer dancing in an office.
It's rocking out.
Yeah,
it's
like big headphones
jamming
on the sides of each of them.
Oh, there's a meme out there for that, for sure.
There definitely is.
I like that.
So we'll get back into it. I want to talk about budgeting. You touched on it a little bit, but I kind of want to dive deeper into that. So I know you guys have stressed the importance of budgeting. First, explain why budgeting is so necessary for college students.
Well, at the most basic level, it is essential to know that your outflows are less than your inflows, right? Otherwise, you're going into a worse financial situation month over month. So the way that we've always approached the starting of budgeting is really to start with understand what you're spending and make sure that what you're spending is less than what you're bringing in. So that's level one. And then start looking at what you're actually spending on. And you might be surprised because there are a lot of things that add up very quickly, but there are definitely certain categories such as required spending and discretionary spending. So understand where that breakdown is very important. And then you can kind of fine tune and tweak over time to get that to where you want it to be. And obviously we've looked at different ratios you could use or whatever, but I think as a college student, it's most important first to just understand what you're spending and that it's less than what you're bringing in, or less than you're allotted. Maybe you've got some help or whatever, through college or whatever, but making sure that you're not going into a worse financial situation by spending more than you're bringing in is key. As a college student, it looks a little bit different. You need to even have more visibility as I think you have more money and bigger income coming in after college. But during college, it can be relatively simple. But just know where your money goes.
The college aspect is you go from probably being under your parents' household into either a dorm or an apartment or somewhere where you're picking up more responsibilities. It's no longer, there's food in the fridge, I'm going to eat that. And it magically reappears.
I've discovered that this past year.
So then you got to prioritize, okay, I have X amount of dollars from my employment or whatever I'm doing in college, and I got to pay for food. And I got to pay for my stuff that I have going on, whether you're renting an apartment or all that stuff. And then I probably want to do some fun stuff. And so budgeting in college is really about prioritizing and getting used to things you have to do and things you want to do. In high school, most of the time, it's gas for your car, maybe insurance or things like that, and then all my fun stuff I want to do, right? You're still getting your food at home, you know, maybe you're buying your clothes, but for the most part, it's just my spending. Then you move into my spending plus things I have to do. And then like Austin said, then once you graduate, you kind of start adding to the things I have to do, right? Because then savings starts showing up more, retirement savings. And all then, you know, maybe I'm moving out of a dorm and into more permanent housing. So then I have property tax or things like that. And so as you make those transitions, doing it in college gets you the framework to say, it's not all just for fun. And I can't do my fun first. I got to make sure I have enough for the things I have to do. And so it's kind of the baby steps into like you're dipping your toe in the pool of adulthood, but there's still life jacket there and you're still kind of in the shallow end, right? You're not going to drown, but it gives you a chance to get used to it before you
We're going to coin the term progressive budgeting.
Progressive budgeting. Ooh, I like that.
Sounds fancy.
That could actually be something.
That'd be good. Good question.
So along with that, what resources should I use to create a budget?
That's perfect because we live in a lot different world than we did even when I went to college. And now you can do everything, almost everything, really easily on an abacus in your pocket. No, actually.
Do you know what an abacus is?
No, I was like, what's that?
Oh, I made a joke and it's too old.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Well,
so
it's 2,000 years
before
old.
calculators, so that's how far back we're going.
Older than Josh.
Little slide beads on a bar. You may have seen this somewhere.
I think I've seen
that's
one
an
of those
abacus,
before.
and you use that. They're tens, so they're power of tens.
Unfortunately, I don't have one of those.
But actually, there's a lot of really cool, usually even free apps.
Okay.
That are really helpful, and even some of the not free ones are very affordable. But you can like link your accounts, and it'll automatically bring in all the things you spend or transactions or whatever, which is great, and then categorize them for you. So that's super handy. So I think there's one called Mint. Mint's
I've heard of that.
Huge one. You Need a Budget. That's a huge one. Dave Ramsey has one, I think, as well. Gazelle.
Or something like that. I think it's what his is called.
And then, obviously, you could do it in a spreadsheet, which a lot of people love to do. That would
Excel.
be, you could do it in Excel, or Google Sheets, or whatever that is, and then really get your transactions that way. And then some, you actually have to manually type in the transactions, which actually makes it a little bit more difficult to do, but you actually have to think about your spending more when you do it that way.
So it might have benefits.
Right. So there are a couple different ways to do that, but we live in the digital world, and now you can do almost all your budgeting very digitally, even automated, which is huge. So then at the end of the month, you can look at what you spent, adjust some goals or whatever for the next month, and it'll give you how much in each category you have throughout the month, which is super
awesome.
handy.
Yeah. It really comes down to how does your brain work? What is the easiest way where it makes sense to you? There's some people that just like to write it down. Right? There's nothing wrong with a paper budget.
No.
Is you could just take a blank sheet of paper and start at the top and say, all right, here's my income. You write that number down. Then underneath it, you just start subtracting off. Right? So you say, I have rent of X amount of dollars. I pay the water bill for X amount of dollars. My gas is X amount of dollars. You know, you just work your way all the way through. And then when you're done, does it zero or is it better than zero? Right? And that's the goal.
Don't forget your favorite word. The envelope method.
Oh, envelope method.
Some people,
is
definitely
great.
envelope.
It's definitely envelope. So, but some people, that is the best method of budgeting. They literally say, I have got, aside from my mortgage or my rent, which is automatically subtracted or whatever, I have $1,000 a month of discretionary spending where I need gas and food and fun things and shopping and all this stuff. And you say, okay, well, I have $100 for gas and $200 for groceries, and you just break it out. You make yourself envelopes, and you carry your envelopes around as you know you're going to spend those things. That's the most simple way people actually have had a lot of success with, and that also makes you, again, mentally think as you're giving out that $20 bill, like, ouch. It's a little. That's why Dave Ramsey's a big proponent of that.
I like the hybrid version of that where you do that for certain categories where you tend to overspend. And so if you tend to eat out more than you should, and every month you're looking back, man, I spent that much on food. If that's your issue, move to cash for just that thing for a little while, and it will really make you aware of it.
So you're only paying that amount.
And because carrying cash around is hard because it's just a pain. It's not everybody
It stresses
takes
me
it.
out
to
have cash.
And so
if you lose it.
Yeah, if you just kind of focus in on those pieces where I'm more likely to overspend, people find you spend less when you're actually handing out cash. Right. So you kind of take your envelope method and you go from there and say, I'm just using it for X things. For instance, in our family, filling up for gas is not a good option because when you have kids in the car, you don't want to unload everybody, walk into the gas station, pay the cash, go back out, pump it. Then there's a difference, and you got to go back in and then get your.
It's a hassle. Yeah.
So there's certain categories that just not convenient for.
Right.
But yes, that's another method.
The problem with that is with the envelope sometimes is, can you imagine if you go to a couple stores and you're using cash and you've got like 89 cents of change in your envelope, just weighing it down, man. I don't want to be weighed down. I got enough problems.
It's hard.
Yeah. Yep. All right. My next question is about a financial plan.
Ooh.
So a good chunk of college students are very future driven. So maybe settling down after graduating, maybe they're getting into long-term relationships.
Ooh.
So what is your advice to these people? How can these individuals efficiently set aside and save money for the future, including like buying a home or family life, stuff like that?
Yeah. The biggest thing when you're financial planning for young people is you got to leave a lot of flexibility in there.
Yeah.
So you're going to set goals, but you're going to keep them pretty loose and pretty fluid because 20 and you say, I want to retire at 50 or whatever you want to do.
There's a lot of
in between there, right? You know, kids could show up, marriage, houses, relocations, all things that could disrupt or change your plan. Not for the bad. It just changes your plan, right? And so I always think for young people, the biggest thing is to say, okay, if this is where I'm trying to get to, what are the things I need to do now? And make sure you're really focusing on the now. Say, okay, my goal is to retire earlier than normal. Let's just say, like, you don't know exactly when, but you think, I want to, normal retirement is somewhere between 62 and 65. That seems a long time. I want to do it sooner. Okay, so what things do I need to do now to at least be on the right path for that?
So would you recommend setting up a Roth IRA then?
Yeah. So Roth IRAs are great. So first you want to get that match from the 401k because that's free money.
Okay.
Above that, you're probably in a lower income part of your life than you will later on, right? As you progress through your career, whatever your career is, your income will probably go up.
Yeah.
So starting to save early on into a Roth means that you're paying less tax and it grows tax-free for the whole rest of the time.
Exactly.
So that's a good spot for money to go.
I just had this thought that if you want to make long-term plans about money, you need to make sure that your career path is oriented with your goals. So like if you're in college and you're like, okay, I want to retire at 40 in a Mega Millions mansion in Hawaii, you probably don't want to go into social work or basket weaving.
Yes.
Like, yeah, sure. Like you need to be thinking about, I want to have a career in a field that has a lot of jobs, good paying jobs with good benefits, so that I can achieve my goals if those are what you want to do. Some people have different goals and they can have different kinds of jobs, but I think making sure that going in, you're aligned with what you want to be doing can fund my hopes, dreams, and goals, whether that be supporting my family, which we would say, obviously, that that's number one, but also retirement and stuff beyond that.
Yes, for sure.
Basket weaving, that's my go-to.
That's it.
Yeah.
It used to be underwater basket weaving.
Yeah.
The more complicated one.
Yeah. Austin's a big basket weaving guy.
Yeah.
He likes sewing.
My dad told me, if you're going to have clothes, guys got to learn to sew.
Yeah, just simple repairs.
Make them yourself.
I can fix a hole.
Yeah, you can make your own blazer.
Yeah, make your own.
Well, I
blazer.
wouldn't go that far. You've never seen me try and sew a straight line.
Oh.
I can sew a hole. Yeah, that's fine. But a straight line? Whoo. I know. No sewing machines.
All right, I have one more question for you guys.
Bring it.
All right.
It's a fun one, kind of. Biggest tip for college students could be financial or non-financial.
All right. I'll get one, and it'll be non-financial.
Mine too.
Enjoy your free time and flexibility.
Oh, preach.
So in college, you are very busy.
Yeah.
You especially. I'm looking right at you. You are busy. But in general, college students are busy. They got classes, they got homework, they have probably jobs, they have groups, organizations they're a part of.
Editing the Invested Dads podcast.
That's a lot of work.
Invested Dads podcast.
Let me tell you that.
You are busy. You're busy in a different way than you will be in future years.
Yeah.
You have a lot more flexibility. If you think of your class schedule, you have a couple classes a day, right? They're spread out.
Yep.
Usually you're done maybe early afternoon. The flexibility of your time at this age is huge. And as you get older, it changes. And so enjoy that freedom and flexibility while you have it to take advantage of. That means hanging out with your friends. I mean, I remember when I was in college years ago, after we, lit the candles and everything to get the light in our rooms, but we would go out in the middle of the day and be playing sand volleyball, right?
Yeah.
Can I do that today? Not really.
No.
I would hurt for a while too. But, the things you can do in college, you just take advantage of them. That's what I would say. And early and post-college too, if there's things you want to try, that's the best time. Mm-hmm. There's you're a marketing major and there's marketing opportunities all around. Yep. And you think, man, that sounds interesting. It's a lot easier to try careers
try it now rather than later.
Large families show up and you're making decisions for a bigger group of people that rely on you. Yep. Mm-hmm. So those are the things I look back on and think, there was things I didn't do in college that, man, that would have been cool. Even like opportunities, college, sometimes there's trips and stuff you can go on that the college helps sponsor that make it a little easier to do those things. So that's my thought, non-financial.
I have two, one of which is semi-financial. Okay. One is not really financial.
Okay.
One is don't get a dog.
Every time. That's not even a college thing. It's just you could be a 1-year-old kid to a 95-year-old person. One advice from Austin: don't get a dog.
I knew college students who got dogs, and it tied them down in college. And then young professionals getting dogs is a terrible idea because you can't travel. You always got to find a sitter. Dogs are expensive. They get sick. They get old. They die.
Yeah, I have a question, Austin.
Yes.
Dogs or cats?
I mean, I'm going to go with dog asterisk because I have 2 dogs. Mm-hmm. So I'm saying this as a recovering dog owner.
Mm-hmm. Recovering.
Yeah. But my little dog is named Samson. I named him Samson because he's big and strong, but he's very small.
That's right. Small and mighty.
It's funny. But he is like half cat. He's like a hybrid because he's so small.
He's half cat. I understand.
Not literally. Not literally. It's not cat dog. It's not that.
Come to be?
I have to pick him. He's very cute and nice, and he loves me a lot more than he loves my wife.
There you go.
But I like the fact that cats are cleaner than dogs. It's nasty that they have litter boxes, but it is they do clean themselves. Dogs do not clean themselves.
They're just content.
They're just content being
muddy or whatever.
So that's my answer to that. Okay. So as a young person, I say just caution yourself on committing to pet ownership. Okay, that's my first part of the answer. The second is learn contentment in life. And this is really, when it comes to financially, really where it kicks in, because I think that it is very easy for people to get out of college where even if you have a job and, relatively low expenses, you still, you don't have a lot of money. So you live like a college student.
Right.
And then as soon as they get that first job, they're all like, I'm going to buy the gigantic house and a brand new car and a
dog.
All the bougie things.
Not
poodle,
a dog.
Freaking poodle. Whatever. And then you're jumping on the other end of the spectrum where you're trying to get into adulthood really fast because it makes you feel like an adult.
Yeah.
Where really you should enjoy that transition where you can still have used furniture for a while and you can still share an apartment for a while and you can still drive an old beater car for a while. Good
opportunity to save money too.
And what that allows you to do is to learn how to be content with not the latest and greatest things. And then you avoid lifestyle creep as you make more money. This is something that I try to do myself is I don't need to have the biggest house in my neighborhood or that the people my age are doing, or I don't need to have the newest car all my friends have.
Or inferior phone by getting an iPhone. Yeah. You're content with that.
Well, I would not stoop as low as to buy an Android just to save money.
Josh.
It's a great phone.
But anyway, that will go a long way because, first of all, it will allow you to save more. It will allow you to have more financial flexibility, and it will allow you to just be more conscious of what happens going forward. So that'll make retirement planning easier because your cost of living hasn't crept up as much and it's going to pay dividends. So just learn to be content. Be content driving that older car. Be content wearing hand-me-down clothes. Be content wearing hand-me-down everything. Yeah. I don't know. And don't get a dog.
That's right.
Don't get a dog.
Don't get a dog.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for having me on. It's been a great time.
It was good questions.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing what you do and making us sound like we have to know what we're talking about because clearly we don't. But thank you for listening, and we would love it if you would follow us on our social medias. We are on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere. Just follow us, like us, subscribe us, all those things. We'd also love it if you would share this episode with someone who you think might enjoy it. If you had someone who might have been asking, hey, I'm a college student, I got some questions, this is probably the episode they should listen to. So send that to them. And as always, feel free, and we would encourage you to send us any ideas to hello@theinvesteddads.com, and we would love to talk about it on the show or help you in any way we can. So from the bottom of Josh and I's heart, thank you, Ashley, for being here and doing what you do to make us sound good.
Thank you guys.
And we will talk to you next Thursday.
That's right.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Invested Dads podcast. This episode has ended, but your journey towards a better financial future doesn't have to. Head over to theinvesteddads.com to access all the links and resources mentioned in today's show. If you enjoyed this episode and we had a positive impact on your life, leave us a review, click subscribe, and don't miss the next episode. Josh Robb and Austin Wilson work for Hixon Zuercher Capital Management. All opinions expressed by Josh, Austin, or any podcast guests are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinions of Hixon Zuercher Capital Management. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for investment decisions. Clients of Hixon Zuercher Capital Management may maintain positions in the securities discussed in this podcast. There is no guarantee that the statements, opinions, or forecasts provided herein will prove to be correct. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Indices are not available for direct investment. Any investor who attempts to mimic the performance of an index would incur fees and expenses which would reduce returns. Securities investing involves risk, including the potential for loss of principal. There is no assurance that any investment plan or strategy will be successful.